Hi, vinyl community. I watched a video recently by Rob Walker. It was like a focus on the 12-inch single. And then I've watched a load more videos on the back of that, focused on Rob Walker's 12-inch single video. And it's kind of sprawled out of control, and rightly so. I love the format. I think, personally, the great thing about the 12-inch single is, well, one, the nostalgia. It takes me back to the 90s, going to local shops and buying a single for £1.99, and that was great. Those days were great. But also the sound quality. Quite often these 12-inch singles are pressed on 45, and that music's got a whole sort of 12 inches to breathe. And for a geek like myself who loves his records, it just really floats my boat. So, I guess this is part of an appreciation society for the 12-inch vinyl single, and I just want to get on board that boat, if that's okay. I'm going to try and keep it on point. I'm going to try and cut out the waffle, but apologies if I do descend into waffle, but I'll try and keep it concise. There's a bit of rock, a bit of reggae, a bit of dancing here. I also I've alphabetized them all, so that's kind of the way I do things, a bit OCD, if you will. So apologies for that, but that's the way we're going. So we're going to kick off now. So, Boards of Canada. First discovered Boards of Canada. Remember the magazine The Wire? They do this Wire Tapper free CD thing, and I picked up one of the, oh God, we're going back like 15, 20 years, probably more. And they had a song on there called Roig Biv, which is off one of their early albums, Music for Children, which is a brilliant album. But this is a 12-inch single, in a beautiful place in the country. It's outstanding. 4 tracks on this. Warp Records, if ever you needed a seal of approval, anything on Warp Records is usually pretty nice, and it's a nice kind of sky blue, I would say that is. And then another Boards of Canada. I like my Peel sessions. You may have seen the video I did a week or so back. Well, this is the Boards of Canada Peel sessions. There's 3 tracks on this. Stand out on this one for me is Aquarius version 3, which is absolutely lush. Boards of Canada Peel sessions. Big favourite in our house is the man, the legend, David Bowie. Now, this is a tune. John, I'm Only Dancing, but you've actually got on the B-side the sax version, which is absolutely lovely. It's a different version. It's one that doesn't appear on the album, and it sounds, well, it's totally different. It doesn't even sound like the same song. It's much more funky, much more, it's just totally different. But honestly, if you've not heard it, it's well worth checking it out, because it's an absolutely lovely version of an absolutely brilliant song. A bit more David Bowie. Love Is Lost. This was off his Next Day album, which is a great record. I think it was 2013 that came out, so one of his later ones. But this is not the version that you would get on the album. It's on one side there's a Steve Reich mix, and he's absolutely Steve Reich has absolutely pulled it apart and put it back together again, sprawled over 13 minutes. Now, I'd never heard this version before. I was driving along one day, as I always do, listening to Six Music, and Mary Ann Hobbs had a morning show at the time, and she played it, and she plays it quite regularly, it would seem. This is one of her favourite David Bowie tracks, and upon hearing that, I had to go track myself a copy down. It's not easy to find. I think this one cost me about 20 quid, but it's worth it. It's just an absolutely different take on a great song, and it's really quite challenging. Yeah, it's good. Oh yeah, Buena Vista Social Club, love them. That album they did was just of its time. It really captured the whole sort of Cuban music scene. I just rinsed it, listened to it loads and loads and loads when it came out many years ago now. But this came out in 2022. It was a Record Store Day release, and one of the reason I got this is 4 tracks on this, but there's one track on here, the second song on side A, called Chan Chan, and that's probably my favourite song off that their album. And it's a different mix of it. So I thought, well, I clearly need to buy that, don't I? So Buena Vista Social Club. Burial. A friend of mine, a guy called Andrew, got me into Burial years ago now, and I'm kind of all in on Burial. I've kind of kept up with it. Burial must have released maybe 20, 25, 12-inch singles now, and I've pretty much got most of them. But this is my favourite one. It's one called Rival Dealer, and a lot of the Burial records are released on this label called Hyperdub, and you get this nice little branded bag, that it's kept in. So they're all quite uniform on your shelf, which is quite nice. But Rival Dealer, and on the B side, you got two great tracks, Hiders and Come Down With Us. I don't know if you're familiar with Burial, but to say it was dance music would be quite lazy, actually. Yes, there's beats in there, but there's lots of samples and background sort of noise. And, it's really unique. It's not like anything. Burial is its own thing. But if you do like sort of challenging music, a little bit experimental with a dance undertone, give it a go. Burial. And another Burial, sometimes if you're lucky, he releases one with a picture sleeve. This is on the Hyperdub label, as you can see there. And this is one called Claustro. And this is a proper floor filler. This is a bit more sort of traditional, dance really in its makeup, but it's a really good 12-inch single, a great pressing as well, really loud. Gosh, yeah. Now this is a band that I love. I keep going back to them all the time. Just so many memories really. They've sort of stayed with me throughout. The Chameleons. This is a song called "A Person Isn't Safe Anywhere These Days," which is a classic. But there's also two great tunes on the B-side in Thursday's Child and Prisoners of the Sun, released on Static Records. Great little label, and a nice in a picture there of, I think it might be Burgess and his cat. Yeah. Sort of emotive, euphoric kind of, no, euphoric's probably the wrong word, but sort of, indie, it's sort of 80s indie, but very sort of moody, very sort of bass driven, really, really, really good music. Back to the dance. We're going back to the Chemical Brothers now. The Darkness That You Fear, one of their later tunes. I think sort of the Chemical Brothers have just got absolutely outstanding again the last sort of 5-6 years. And this is an absolute tune. It really is. Nice little sleeve there. And the B-side, Work Energy Principle, is just, it's got a right groove to it. If you like dancing, stick that on, party all night. And similarly, this one of the later tunes as well, Goodbye. And it's the Errol Alkan reworking of this song, and it's absolutely massive. It's it just builds and builds and builds, and it just takes off. It's just brilliant. If you like the Chemical Brothers, and if you're not familiar with this rework of Goodbye, give it a listen. So away from dance, onto the Cramps now, and the Gravest Hits. Goodness me. Every tune on here. You got Human Fly. It's a 5-track EP. It does play at 45. You got Human Fly, The Way I Walk, Domino, Surfing Bird, and Lonesome Town. And it's produced by Alex Chilton. And it's just amazing. Proper garage rock and roll. The Cramps have got that sort of like psychobilly, rockabilly type thing going on, but they sort of make it their own. They're just such an iconic band, and I think this music seems to be getting more and more popular as time goes on. As more people discover the Cramps, they realise what an awesome kick-ass band they were. And I'm really actually consider myself quite lucky to have this version, because it's actually the blue vinyl as well. which is a really good pressing. Sounds lovely. Oh, goodness me. DJ Shadow, High Noon, which in itself is a great tune. But the B-side is a song called Organ Donor, and it's the extended overhaul version. Now, Organ Donor appears on his Endtroducing record. By the way, if you're not familiar with the Endtroducing album, my opinion is every collection should have one. It's just brilliant. You know, it's just two vinyls built up of samples and beats, and it just takes you on this lovely sort of musical journey. It's really like nothing else. It's on Mowax Records, highly recommended, but also highly recommended if you've not heard it, is the extended overhaul of Organ Donor, because it is an absolute monster of a tune. We were talking about Burial earlier, and this was a record store day when I picked up Goldie, Inner City Life. That was released a few years back, which is a great tune. You know, it's just beautiful. In fact, this record is dedicated to Diane Charlemagne. May you rest in peace. Obviously, she was the singer of the song when it originally came out. Beautiful voice. And on the B-side, you've got the Burial remix, which goes on a totally different journey, but equally beautiful and equally exciting. Well recommended. Okay, so we're taking a step over to some sort of psyche proggy stuff now. We're going to go down the route of Hawkwind and Zarazinha. Now, this song is off their Chronicles of the Black Sword album, which is a great listen. Sort of, it was one of their 80s albums, which I think was a really rich period for Hawkwind personally. So you got Zarazinha on the A side, and on the B side you got two live tracks. I love a live track, Assault and Battery and Sleep of a Thousand Tears. But Zarazinha itself is just an absolute wonderful, sprawling sort of psychedelic tune on Flick Knife Records, and some sort of really atmospheric artwork there as well. Another Hawkwind one. I'm not sure whether this will come out in this video so well, but it's like an embossed silver sleeve, and it's kind of textured. You can just sort of feel the Hawkwind logo and writing a little bit here. And of course, it's Silver Machine, which people who don't know Hawkwind know Silver Machine. You know, it's just one of those songs that is just ever present everywhere, and everyone likes it, and rightly so, because it's fabulous. On the B side, you got 7x7, which is also an absolute monster of a song. And another Hawkwind one, actually, Motorhead, which is really, really a really rock and roll song, written by Lemmy, of course, who later went on to do the whole Motorhead thing, which was great. But obviously he's with Hawkwind here, and you've got Dave Brock on guitars, Lemmy on bass, and Powell on drums. And on the B side, you've got an extended version of a great song written by Brock and Bainbridge called Valium 10. And it really is a really sort of driving, psychedelic feast of a tune, you know, with really great bass from Harvey Bainbridge, who obviously helped write this song. Again, on Flick Knife Records. Lovely, lovely cover art. Really like that one. Great band. So, you know, if you were going to ask me, you know, what band reminds you most of being a kid, it would be these guys. You know, I just love them. I've seen them. I've been lucky to see Iron Maiden 4 or 5 times. You know, really great live, but also really great in the studio. They do great songs. You know what you're going to get with Iron Maiden. They never let you down, whether that's, you know, from Iron Maiden or Killers in the early days, right the way through. You know, I think they've always been, the quality control has always been really high. And it's always been really high on the artwork as well, as you'll know if you know anything about Iron Maiden. And this is a great 12-inch picture disc, Stranger in a Strange Land. Love that artwork. You know, a little bit kind of Clint Eastwood here. You know, take no prisoners, Eddie. And then we're going to go from Eddie in a Bar to Eddie Flying High. He's found his wings, and the massive song off the Peace of Mind album, Flight of Icarus, which is a personal favourite of mine. On the B-side, what Iron Maiden did a lot, actually, on their singles, was they did a lot of covers as well. And I really like that. You know, you could hear Iron Maiden Ising, you know, a traditional 70s rocker. And on this one, it's I've Got the Fire by Montrose, which is an absolute fabulous track, by the way, and a lovely, moody picture of the band there on some stairs. What's not to like? And one more for Iron Maiden. You know, I've got the T-shirt on, so we'll stretch it out to 3. And this song, I was a young teenager when maybe 12, 13 when this came out. And what a tune. People sometimes say it's not that good. You know, it's not such a good song, is it? I love it personally. And it's Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter. It's just such a good song. And you got a couple of covers on the B-side. You've got I'm a Mover and the massive Led Zeppelin song Communication Breakdown. And Iron Maiden do it really well. You know, not as well as Led Zeppelin, of course, to be fair. You know, no offense, Iron Maiden, but it's a great cover of it nonetheless. Oh, goodness me. Manic Street Preachers, You Love Us. Now, a couple of stories about this one. One, I bought this originally from a shop in Knaresborough. Knaresborough's in North Yorkshire. I don't know if you've heard of it. But anyway, it's a little market town. And it used to have, when I was a kid, me and my mate Al, we'd go to a record shop in our lunch. We'd sneak out of school and go see what new releases had come out. I think it was on a Monday those days when new releases came out. And this was one that I picked up. Well, I say this was one that I picked up. George Heapies was the shop. I don't know if I mentioned that. This was one I picked up from George Heapies, probably £1.99 back in the day. However, on that particular day of buying this originally, it was absolutely pissing it down with rain. And they gave me this little paper bag to put the record in, and I knew that was not going to save the day. I mean, we're talking torrential, biblical rain. And I got it home that night after it sweating out in this paper bag all day in history class or something like that. And I got it out, and it was the cardboard didn't resemble cardboard anymore. It absolutely obliterated into nothingness. So this was my second attempt at buying You Love Us. A great, lovely gatefold with a picture of the band in there. You know, really great band. I saw them live when they're promoting the Generation Terrorists album, and it was just one of the best concerts I've ever been to. As a young lad, you know, going to a concert like that, it was just absolutely madness. You know, there was people crowd surfing. Every now and then you get a boot on your head, and it was proper rock and roll. You know, it really was. And they were a proper rock and roll band at that point. You know, lots of attitude, lots of punk sort of aesthetic. Brilliant band, particularly in this era as well. And on the B-side, you've got a cover of It's So Easy, the Guns N' Roses song, which is really smart as well. Oh, goodness me. Bob Marley, Three Little Birds. Absolutely love this tune. Love anything to do with Bob Marley. It's a lovely song, but what you've also got here is the Three Little Birds dub version as well, which is excellent. And you've got Exodus, a remix by Eric Thorngren, which is a great sounding. I mean, you know, when you talk about sort of 12-inch singles and you know, the richness of sound it brings pressed on 45, I think this kind of thing is a really good example of that. I mean, it just sounds, I mean, it's an immense song anyway, but it sounds even better on this pressing. And there you go. I love the old Island logos as well. God, we're coming up to 20 minutes now. Thank you for sticking with me. I reckon in 5 more minutes I'll be done. So we're on the home straight now, I think. This was one I picked up quite recently, you know, going through a bit of a Giorgio Moroder phase. You know, he's brilliant, isn't he? I love the stuff that he did with Daft Punk and, he's produced all sorts of stuff, and he's got that very distinctive style as well. And I think this 12-inch single really kind of tones in on that style, and it's Chase, Giorgio Moroder Chase, on Casablanca Records. I love these Casablanca company sleeves that these 12 inches got released in back in the day. It's almost nicer than a picture sleeve. A little bit of water damage there. I don't quite know what caused that. It wasn't me. Obviously, I didn't buy this at the time because I was 1 year old when this was released in 1978. But tune. Oh God, that's a classic, isn't it? New Order. This was designed to look like a floppy disk. Anybody remember floppy disk from back in the day? Don't really know why they did that, but I think I read somewhere that the production costs of the sleeve made it not profitable. So every time they had to do a rerun of this, they were losing money. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but I read that somewhere. Anyway, the absolute classic Blue Monday on 45. And again, like I was saying earlier about the Bob Marley record, this version of Blue Monday is probably the best version you'll ever hear if you can get one of these, because it just sounds absolutely brilliant. Orb, Little Fluffy Clouds. I'm all in on the Orb. I like the early stuff. I like the middle stuff. I like the later stuff. I just think they're an absolute brilliant band. And this single was probably one that propelled them into sort of superstardom, really. Little Fluffy Clouds. When did this one come out, actually? Let's have a little look. See, yeah, 1990. Goodness me, it's a long time ago. And on the B-side, you've got Into the Fourth Dimension and Little Fluffy Clouds and Ambient Mix Mark 1. And that's the great thing about the Orb. Whatever 12-inch you go by from them, there's loads of exclusive material on there that you won't get anywhere else other than on that 12-inch single. Oh, massive one here. Dawn Penn. No. That for me is probably one of the best reggae songs ever. I just think that is an absolute floor filler. And on the B-side here, you've got the creator version of that song as well. And it's 3 minutes and 10 seconds spread over 12 inches played at 45. I mean, blow me neck. That sounds great. That one does. Porcupine Tree, Voyage 34. This is just an absolute psychedelic masterpiece. It really is. I mean, it's as trippy as. This one takes me back to kind of 17, 18, maybe even 16 at a mate's party. Again, Andrew, the guy who recommended Burial to me, I was at his party when we were kids and he spanned this. And I thought, blimey, I need to find a copy of that myself. And I did, promptly put that right. And Porcupine Tree, Voyage 34, it's just an absolute psychedelic masterpiece. 2 tracks, you're looking at sort of 18, 19 minutes on each side. But it's a really, really exciting journey. So highly recommended. Yeah, so I mentioned, one band that kind of remind me of a kid was Iron Maiden, and that is the band, that sort of takes me back there instantly to sort of feeling young again. But there's also another band who does this as well for me, and it's these guys, Soundgarden. Absolutely love them. This is the Loud Love EP. Really, really good EP, actually. That one actually plays at 33. The reason it plays at 33 is because there's 4 songs on it, but they're all on one side. Because on the other side, you've got the legendary, if not slightly intimidating, scary eyes of Kim Thayil looking at you. I don't know if that will come across on that video, but we'll give it a go. And again, Soundgarden are an legendary band. My only regret being a Soundgarden fan is I just think that they could have released more albums. They they weren't that prolific in terms of releasing records. But that said, the quality control, the benchmark on each of their albums was extremely high. I think all of their albums are exceptional. And particular shout out to the stuff Chris Cornell did as well as a side project with Temple of the Dog. I think Temple of the Dog is one of the best albums of the 90s. I've got that actually. Just bear with me if I can lay my hands on it quickly. Yeah, this is the one I'm talking about. My friend's actually got this on a vinyl record, but that ship sailed really, unfortunately, because it's such an expensive record to get. So I'll have to put up with a CD, but it's just a fabulous album. Nearly there. Spiritualized, great tune. Anywhere That You Want Me and Step Into the Breeze, parts 1 and part 2 on the B. This is their debut single. Nice label as well. I really like that one. I don't know if that one's come out very well there, but lovely, colourful label. Spiritualized, everybody knows Ladies and Gentlemen, which is an absolute classic album, but this is the first single, just as Spaceman 3 was splitting up. This dropped, and it's just an absolute great song, and a real sort of sign of intent as of what was to come from Jason Pierce and his revolving band. And we're going to wrap up with two dance singles now. Sort of house, I would say these are. A guy who was taken to us far too young, a guy called Susumu Yokota. And this is a song called Could Heaven Ever Be a Place Like This, which is just an absolute floor filler again. It's just sublime, really sort of beautiful, euphoric vocals carrying the tune along. You've also got the Malawi Rocks mix on that as well, which is great. I think it's the only place you can get that version. And this mix EP that he did, 4 track. I mean, look at the cover art on that, by the way. This was on it's the label still going now, an excellent label called Leaf Records, UK based label. They release all sort of exciting sort of IDM music and dance and all sorts of stuff, really, experimental stuff and everything in between. But yeah, that's the Susumu Yokota mix EP. So if you've stayed the test of time for this 27 minutes, you deserve a medal. Thank you for listening. Thanks again to Rob Walker for all the good stuff that he's done, setting this ball rolling. It feels a little bit like a snowball, and it's gaining momentum, and the snowball's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's thanks to you, Rob. I think it's great that we all appreciate these 12-inch singles. I love watching everybody else's videos centered around these 12-inch singles. So let's keep it going. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.